22nd Brown County Commission order. Mr. Hans, would you lead us to the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
First item on our agenda is second reading and possible adoption of ordinance 117, Schenkel rezone. And you want these in separate? And then after that, we'll have the ordinance 118, the Schuster rezone.
I'll move the Schenkel.
Second. Moved by Commissioner Hanson, second by Commissioner Fishback to approve the second reading of the Schenkel rezone. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And this would be a roll call vote. This is for second and possible adoption? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'll move the Schuster rezone.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Kipley to approve the Schuster rezone. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
This is also a roll call vote. Okay.
You're okay again, Les. Do you want me to take it over there for you? Oh, you're here.
Yeah.
We got here.
Do we have to set the hearing date on this one?
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's on our agenda later on.
Yeah, but you can do it now if you want.
Okay. I'd move to set the hearing date for...
You won't.
Second.
Moved by Fishback, second by Sutton to set the hearing date for the Ewald rezone for, they published for May 30th through June 6th.
And then it's...
First meeting, June 12th.
Yeah. That's it, my number here. You want to fold? You didn't.
Okay. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We got just a couple minutes on our sheet, but I think we can move into our Marcia Erickson and Kelly Weaver with Grove, South Dakota. Over there.
Good morning.
By you?
Can you get through it?
Oh my, we've got a crowd. Good morning. You're all here for different stories. Good morning.
Morning.
Hello. Thank you for seeing us again this year. I'm Marcia Erickson. I'm the CEO at Grove, South Dakota.
And I'm Kelly Weaver. I'm the Regional Director of the Small Business Development Center, and we're hosted by Grove, South Dakota, based here in Abilene.
So I'm just going to send around some information for you. I'm basically going to go through what we've provided in Brown County this past year in activities and services. And there's one extra copy of at least the infographic.
Yep.
So if you take a look, I'll go right to the infographic. If you take a look at the upper left-hand corner, it'll show the investment that we've had in Brown County over the past year. You look at housing lending, $1.1 million in our portfolio. We've had some emergency assistance, one sale of a governor's house, home improvement. Our home improvement continues to be in large demand, and our funding source is low for that. We keep applying. We keep hoping that we can continue to build that home improvement fund and continue to serve a lot of constituents in our area and in Brown County. Huge need as our housing stock continues to age. Business lending, $3 million in our portfolio. Small Business Development Center, which Kelly will talk about, has had a great impact here. We're fortunate to have their office in Aberdeen here. And then our weatherization assistance program that continues to make low-income families' homes more affordable through energy efficiencies. And of course, we do have the office that is located here. So if you go to the bar graph on the top right-hand there on that same page, you'll see the impact as far as individuals served. 320 individuals received assistance through housing lending. A lot of that is our down payment assistance program, which is income-driven, income-based. We've had a large influx of down payment assistance funding this past year. We received about $5 million in funding through some of our national partners, and some of those have been forgivable loans, and but the majority have been deferred loans. The deferred loans are still available. The forgivable loans, it took 3 months to fully allocate 224 houses. So, but we do have the down payment deferred loans available anywhere from $5,000 up to $10,500. So if you have families, households in Brown County that are looking to purchase a home, please let them know, and we'd be certain to help them out, get them into purchasing a home. Emergency assistance, we've assisted 47 individuals. Home improvement, 8 household individuals. Homebuyer education, 91. One thing I'd like to point out about our homebuyer education program is that a lot of our borrowers have done the online curriculum, so they can do that at their convenience. They can take 2 hours, come back to it, finish it off 2 hours, and they can do it at night or evening, so it's very conducive to their schedule and very accessible for families. Small Business Development Center, 94, the furnace weatherization program, 60, and then Kelly will mention and go over the Big Idea contest that she has for high school students. That's really effective and a great program to offer our high school students. Carla Burns is also located in the Aberdeen office here, and she enrolls individuals in the healthcare marketplace. Board members, we have Jody Zuger and Beth Smith, Pat Tolleson, and then on our committees we have Daryl Evok and Lance Boberg from Brown County here. We do have 6 staff in Aberdeen. Carla, Kelly, Brenda Waggy does a lot of our housing lending, and then Pat Gallagher is our funds development director, and then we did employ 2 interns this past year. So the one thing that I ask of you is if you can continue to send individuals our way for down payment assistance so we can help families there. We do have direct housing lending also, so for those that can't qualify for traditional bank financing, but they're good customers, good borrowers. We can do home direct first mortgage lending in-house. So that's something that we would like our Brown County residents to take advantage of if it works for them. And business lending, we also have business lending available. Yeah, so in the past year you did support us, and we are asking again that for your support in the upcoming year. We are asking for $5,000 support. We do see a lot of our activity right here in Brown County, and we use your funding for emergency assistance or emergency housing repairs if someone has a housing emergency that we can't help under our other programs. We try to help them with county funding. And then, Kelly, do you want to talk a little bit about your Small Business Development Center Big Idea?
Sure, absolutely. Marcia mentioned the numbers just to give you some perspective there. The investment is really clients that we've worked with. So the Small Business Development Center is a federally established program, and federal money matched with state and money from Grow South Dakota to provide free and confidential business consulting to people that want to start a business, people that want to expand their business, people that just want to better understand their business, part of their business. So we can help with all types of businesses outside of production agriculture and pretty much any stage of business. A lot of business transitions even. We work with people that are looking to buy a business or sell a business. And so the funding that's listed there, the investment is basically business owners that we've worked with that have, that's the loans or the equity that they've invested in their business project. And then the number is actually the number of clients that we saw in 2017. So you can imagine the relationship we have with our clients is not necessarily, sometimes it's one meeting and we're done, but a lot of times it's even a multi-year relationship with clients. So they may be started with us in a previous year, but we actually did activity with them in 2017. So that's kind of what those numbers represent. In addition to our individual counseling, our office here in Aberdeen serves regional areas, so we do go out to other areas to visit with clients. We provide training, QuickBooks training. We work with the local SCORE chapter that does a lot of training through the power hours that you might hear about that the workshop has downtown. So we do impact, I don't believe that that number necessarily reflects training clients, it's just direct assistance counseling clients. And so that's kind of what we do day in and day out. Big Idea Project, 2017 was the 10th anniversary of that project. It's a business idea competition for high school students, and I serve as the coordinator for that. There's actually a committee that represents educational institutions in the area. Northern PC, Aberdeen Public Schools and Catholic school systems are involved. At Dakota Bank, we have a number of supporters, not just in Aberdeen, but across the state. The competition kind of started out as a regional thing in the Northeast, but in 2012 it grew to a statewide competition and has been since then. Last year we had just, I think it was 243 entries from 37 different schools across the state, and those are judged. It's like a page and a half concept paper, basically, that the students are submitting. They're judged, and the top 8 entries then are finalists that come to campus at Northern for a final competition where they have to actually do a verbal presentation to a panel of judges. They have to present their elevator pitch to the people in attendance. We always bring in business owners or speakers to talk about understanding the ups and downs and the trials and tribulations and the joys of business ownership and entrepreneurship, and then we present the awards that day.
Let's go to Shark Tank.
Kind of, yeah, in a friendlier version maybe.
What's the awards then if they would win the competition?
The first place winner gets $1,000 cash plus $1,000 scholarship to Northern and $1,000 scholarship to PC. And then second place is $500 and third place is $250. And then we have added some additional, we have a marketing design competition, so if students want to create an ad for their business idea, they can compete for another $500 prize. Last year we had the Wellness Award. Sanford is one of our sponsors, so they sponsored a category of wellness, so the top 10 wellness ideas they got and chose from that pool. And then in 2018 we'll be adding an agriculture category that will be sponsored by Midwest Ag Live. So it's a fun project. It's a great real-life experience for the teachers to bring into their classrooms or for students who just are independently interested on their own to participate in.
How many counties donate money
Within our NESCAP, the Community Action Program is the counties that we reach out to, which is the 17 county area, and 15 of the counties do. Correct, yes.
On your down payment assistance, do you run any conflict with that money versus their primary lender as far as, naturally, if you don't have a down payment, you go to the bank, somebody's got questions all the time. Do you run any resistance with that when they know it's coming from rural South Dakota?
We've been really fortunate to have very good luck with that. We have statewide over 38 banking institutions that have partnered with us on the loans. We did have some struggles getting one bank on board. They had to go through their attorneys. It was, a larger corporate bank. But once they, we got through all the hurdles and made sure their language was correct, we were able to partner with that lending institution also. So we've tried to work through those challenges if we've had them, and it's been very successful. We received $2 million November 13th when people are not buying houses. You have Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and we were 100% allocated by the end of February for 224 homes. So
So when you loan the down payment like that, how do you get your money back? Is it included in the house payment or?
Right. It depends on the type of down payment assistance. Some are forgivable over 5 years. So each year 20% of the loan.
You forgive that?
Right. And then but what's remaining is a deferred loan. So if they sell their house, even if it's 30 years from now, if they refinance the home, then that's repayable to us. It's 0%. So we don't take any monthly payments at all. It's just a lump sum due at the sale.
But if they stay in their house, you never get it back, right?
Right.
But eventually they probably all do, right?
Right. Yeah, if they're 30 years, I've probably won't be around to have to deal with it, but we a few of them, you know, have come back already where they've transferred home since we started this type of program.
Move up into a...
Yes, yes. Yes.
Very good.
Okay.
Any other questions for Marcia or Kelly?
Keep up the good work.
Thank you, and thank you for your support and for seeing us this morning.
You
Thank
bet.
you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good question, Doug, because a lot of places they won't, you can't give somebody the down payment to sell your house. Well, it gets a little tricky because everybody's got questions at that point in time, how financially strong you are. Our next item on the agenda, we're going to discuss ag land assessments. I guess at this time I've seen you for a long time. I know how you doing, Tom? Good. Good to see you. Excuse me for just a moment. Paul, how you doing? Move it around. Morning. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning, right? Morning.
Thank you so much. Well, I guess the first thing I'll address is that we did hear back from the Department of Revenue, and I don't know if you want me to read the letter, but I would tell you it was very unsuccessful. They basically believe it's the sole problem of the Brown County, to put it bluntly. So that's kind of where we're at there. So it's the same old story that
Shocker.
the state is basically saying it's our problem to deal with. So I think everybody here would agree that there is some liability in the state's eyes, but once again, we are less superior than they are, so we have to kind of...
I would say it'd be more than some.
Well, I've tried to be half political correct when I state that I'm not gonna, it doesn't do us any good to go down that road, because I think it's gonna be what it is, as far as when you're dealing with the state. I mean, the authority they have over us is greater than we'll imagine, but that doesn't prevent us from probably looking at the avenue of, and that's open for discussion, whether we want to continue to involve the state more and proceed with them. That's open for discussion at this point.
Well, I think we owe it to the taxpayers of Brown County to pursue it, because I think, like Tom said, they should share equally in what has happened. You know, they're the ones that we ask for approval on the assessment plan every year. When they signed off on it, that's all we had to go by.
And
So I think they need to share equally.
Aren't we required to ask for their approval before we do that?
We are.
Well, as a landowner, I guess first of all, I'm very disappointed. I appreciate the letter that you wrote, and I guess we're here to support any action that you take, because I believe they are responsible. I think they were derelict in their auditing. I think that they passed the legislation, and they should have came out their first few years and looked it over all the way down to the landowner. So, with that being said, I guess we probably, I'm speaking for myself now, we're probably going to look at maybe taking some action as far as filing and see where it goes. But I have to ask one thing. I think Bob brought it up. We were looking for forms. Somebody was looking for forms to submit to the court. We can't find them.
Sorry.
So,
You'll have to ask Chris about that, I don't know.
what kind of forms are you talking about?
Protest forms.
Protest forms.
Yeah, protest your taxes. When we asked for our, the forms came right with our assessments. When we appealed our assessments, the form came out, told exactly what to do. Now when you write a protest check, you go, everybody's got this deer in the headlights look, like, what are you talking about? Gene? Got the deer in the headlight look? We don't know anything about it. So then you go up to the window, asked to file for your protest, they say, well, you gotta have a lawyer.
That's why, when I talk to the Department of Revenue, no, a lot of people pay in their protest, but they've only seen it one time where they file suit after the protest. And it's because you have to hire a lawyer, is my understanding.
Well, the lawyer's gotta find, ask Drew, he went to try to find forms, no forms. The due process here is we're being denied, basically. As landowners, as being people that overtaxed, people who've been wronged, the easiest thing to do for you gentlemen and ladies would be to take the offer we gave you last time we were here. That's by far the simplest thing for all of us to do. To basically, and I say basically, there's a lot of room for improvement here. But when you can't find the forms to file protests, and you can't use the government for just basically to get your money back somehow, they've pretty much stymied all the landowners. So, I guess I'm saying is that the simplest thing would be to just say, okay, we know we've been overtaxed. Now you're just gonna have to spread this thing out over 8 years and tax the other townships just a little bit more to make up for what you're gonna have to give us in just abatement. Just give us a little bit off of our taxes. And until 8 years to be up, we would now be kind of close to being, we're only asking for like $10, $12 out of a $35 overtaxation over 8 years. I mean, I'm just saying numbers that are kind of close, but it would be pretty simple to do the math this way, and pretty simple to figure out that we wouldn't have to involve the state government. We would, and literally, they are absolutely out to lunch on this. I'll guarantee you there's not a manual there showing how to audit.
Lori, keep that going, will you?
How to audit
Can
this.
It's
we
mine.
get a copy?
There's one thing that I'd like to mention that has never been brought up, and it's very significant. The cash rents have went up because of this incident. 50% of our landlords raised, and their excuse was taxes, that their taxes went up so much that they had to have more money cash rent. Well, the ones that done that were already the highest, so we let it go. We told them to keep their land. We didn't need it because there was nothing left to make. And this has happened to an awfully lot of people, a lot of farmers that I've talked to, and they're hanging in there. They went ahead and held on to the land even though they raised their cash rent because of the taxes, because they were hoping the commodities would get higher and they didn't want to lose it. I just wanted to mention that's a big deal, boy. You think about that over the years, and it's really forced cash rents up on every acre of land that was being rented. Tom understands all that.
I agree.
I want to point out one thing. You commissioners say that you didn't know. I'm Lori Williams. My mom is Delia Williams. I've actually, Commissioner Hanson came into Ken, I think years ago. I was a cashier. I was working. That was when we had the big rain that everybody was flooded. I believe the commissioners wanted to opt out of the tax thing, to opt out of the tax, to raise the taxes. And I had a discussion with Commissioner Hanson. And again, I was at work, which I shouldn't have been. Shouldn't have talked to you about it when I was at work. But the only time that I actually see commissioners is at my job, or Commissioner Sutton at your restaurant. I turned around and brought up that my roads, my township wasn't getting enough money for the roads, and that the taxes were too high. Now, that was like 2013 when we had that big rain, give or take, 13, 14. And if my memory serves me correctly, and if you didn't get upset, it felt like to me, on the issue, you turned around and said, well, I suppose you
voted the opt-out down. Franchise did. And I pointed out, we're paying too much tax, and my township is not getting enough money to even repair my road. I had one way in, one way out. I got a big GMC pickup, 96 pickup. I had the one way in, I was bottoming out in a hole. Not even, it's not even a quarter mile away.
Okay, angle worms down there.
No, that's not it. And I turn around, I was bottoming out on that. There would be no way to get emergency person to me, either one of our places, because we've got a big tributary to our west. Tributaries, if you go out to Highway 12, the big slough by Sharp, that's what we call a tributary. It's a part of the James River that comes off the original. That water is supposed to come clear out to mine over by Tacoma Park. I turned around and complained about the taxes then. Do I pay taxes? No. Am I part of my family's farm? Yes. Do I help my mom's farm? Yes. So in one aspect, you're looking at the future generation, my brother and I, taking over, or at least continuing on with the family farm. We have a renter. Like you said, we had to raise the rent up because of taxes. Mom's sitting comfortably. We're not going on big trips. But you turn around and said, well, I suppose you opted out of the tax freeze. Yeah. And you said, well, you'll just see how well we are. We can knock out your road.
We don't have any to pay over township roads. We do not fund township.
Well, I mean, that's
And
what
I think I explained that to you.
That's what you said. We turn around, but yet you turn around and have to allocate money to the township.
No,
No, they
no.
tax themselves.
You have your own taxation, and that's why, Lori, and I probably said something to you, there's a lot of townships that have opted out, and they have a top limit. One township tried to get out more, and they could not because they're top limited. Township roads are an entity on themselves.
Yeah, but then turn around and you turn around and said, well, we cannot plow on anybody's road. Granted, you could not. I mean, that was stated, and if I'm mistaken, I'm sorry, but
I remember looking at your road.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Every year, my mom pays for taxes every year that I go up with her. She complains to the assessor's office. My taxes are too high. The chain of command, to my understanding, in every business there's a chain of command. A person like my mother or any other taxpayer has to go to the assessor's office to check out, to make sure that we are right. The assessor checks it out, then the next person, they can't come back to us because their bosses is the commission. Right? Chain of command. So if you guys haven't heard about it, and I know this new former assessor had a little trouble. I think he was trying, and this is my thinking, he was trying to get you guys to see that he was having complaints. He did research it, and there was communication gap between the offices or whatever. But his feeling was he was getting railroaded in one way. To me, I thank him for going to the public, to going to the newspaper. It opens up everybody's eyes. But the next chain of command, if that was broke, But Commissioner Sutton, how many times in your restaurant did one of the farmers turn around and say, I think my taxes are too high?
People in general think their taxes.
Yeah, but I mean, and you said, well, and I mean, I've overheard some conversation, you know, sitting in a restaurant and you overhear certain things. And you said, well, there's for certain things that you pay is, or you do, taxes and you die. So basically, you've had people come up, and yeah, generally, but no one knew until the former assessor broke that story. Had the guts enough.
I would just like to say that former assessor never brought that to us, and I would challenge him to a lie detector test to prove who the liar is in that case.
Okay, like I said, I'm just taking actually the chain of command, Commissioner Fishback. There,
If he didn't bring it to us, how would we know?
Well-
He runs the paper because we fired him for other reasons. And if he knew that, why didn't he tell us?
well, like I
He was
said,
derelict in his duty completely.
like I said, the chain of command, I'm not sure where it was broke. I'm just bringing up the chain of command. So we're in this mess because somewhere the chain of command got broke. And
You
as
gotta
far as-
remember the legal chain of command too.
Yeah.
So legally, the way it works is a taxpayer doesn't like, they're paying a certain amount of taxes. They go to the assessor's office.
Which my mom did,
They sit down with the assessor,
which my mom did,
and you disagreed with the assessor.
which my mom did.
You appeal it. You take it to the state administrative boards and you appeal it. You
But-
have that right. That's the problem here legally, and that's why there's no attorneys that want to get involved in this, because everybody missed that right for the last 7 years. That's the problem.
Okay.
I don't disagree with you,
Yeah, but
I'm just telling you legally
I'm
that's the
just
chain of command.
saying, okay, there is, and how do I don't want to put it, and I don't want to offend any of the farmers here, but I'm going to offend myself also. I don't want to say dumb farmers, because we're not. But we are trying to, and I'm trying to get it all together, just like you said. We don't know the legal aspect. My mother and myself don't know the legal aspect. If the assessor turn around and bring up, well, you should take legal aspects, we would have probably went to a lawyer.
The administrative process isn't illegal necessarily. You
Yeah,
don't
but
need
I
an
mean-
attorney
I
to be a
mean-
pro se issue. And the only tax appeals I've seen have been pro se. No one has an attorney. They show up to
Yeah.
court on their own. And I think Jim's doing one currently. I know there's been some other folks that have talked about it. That's that process at the first level. Now, when you get into the second level, getting into circuit court, as we talked about forms, that's when you're going to need an attorney. And anybody would be nuts to go into court, in my opinion, by themselves into circuit court. I'm not sure a judge would even allow it at a certain point. He would recommend you get counsel. So that's the problem. I mean, the first administrative process is set up to
And
be
it's-
you and you
it's
only pro
assessors,
se.
And like I said, my mom did, but the only thing is, taxes go up. Taxes go up every year. So how did we know that, how does a normal person know that they're paying 118%?
It's
So you
frustrating.
have to go to the assessor's office, they have to check it out. In turn, when they check it out, they can't come back, if I'm making the claim, they can't come back to me until they get the higher up, their boss.
I don't think that's true. I think Gene would tell you that he works with taxpayers every single day without going up to the county commission.
Okay, then there's something that, like I said, in my mind, there's a chain of command. So when that assessor did not come, and we complained, Mom complains every year to former assessor, from former assessor Mary Worley to this new guy, every year. Her taxes are, and she says, the taxes seem too high. We're paying almost $7,000 per year. Jean got it, and we sat down this year for 2018 to get it regularized and found out that we're paying, and I'm taking, we have 38 acres, which we only farm 17.1. We were getting taxed all 38 acres, and we only farm 17.1, and all of it was taxed on agriculture, on property. We didn't know that until, and I mean, I think Mom even brought it up to former assessor Mary Worley and the new guy saying, we only farm 17.1, you know, and they said, well, we'll take 38 acres. So it was pointed out to them, but yet we paid the whole 38 acres. And we've got quite a bit of wasteland on our property, because we've got the river bottom, we've got the tributary. It's great cropland, rancho. My ancestors weren't stupid on not parking up there. But when it rains, and right now we've got water in the what we call the tributary.
You know, and I think that's why they make an appeal process. You know, you have to instigate it if you think you're being treated unfairly. You know, I don't know that you can ask any assessor to go out in Brown County and say, well, I think you're not quite right. It has to be some responsibility. I'm not saying we don't have any responsibility, but it does fall on some of the people that ask for the appeal if it's not correct. I find it interesting that one of the statements that Department of Revenue makes is, your land is not assessed too high unless you can't sell it for that. Doesn't that seem to be an odd statement from the Department of Revenue? It's right in their paperwork. Dwayne, you and I read it together. What kind of statement is that? To me, that's pretty broad. If you think you're being overassessed unless you think you can't sell the land for that, well, who knows? I know there ain't one of you that would probably sell your land for what it's assessed at. So doesn't that leave the door pretty wide open, the way the state's got that little form in there? I think that was crazy to read that, but that's the way the state reads it in the Department of Revenue. So,
Doug, just to add to that a little bit, though, there is a constitutional provision that no land can be taxed. Taxable value can be higher than its market value or sales value. And there's some land, which I could point one out, that's mighty close in my area. It happens to be grassland, but that's a different avenue. I just wanted to respond to this lady. I've got the mill levies, and she was talking about Cambria Township, I assume.
Yep.
Cambria Township does not have an opt-out. If you needed to fix your roads, I would think you would have opted out of the tax freeze. And I don't, this is just the current year's tax levies. Cambria Township isn't got one of the highest township levies, but it's not one of the lowest either. Carlisle Township has got just a normal tax levy of .572. Cambria's got a .32 with no opt-out. If you needed money for your township,
I've been trying to go to, I've talked to the road board. I've talked to...
you people got to vote to opt out.
To get my road fixed, I've talked to, you know, at the time it was Ronnie Ringberg, a bunch of other ones. And I've talked to each one of them because my worry was getting somebody down there for emergency if we need to.
Right.
And I mean, I talked to the road board and saying, we need this fixed. And they keep saying, we don't have any money.
Then you would have had to instigate an opt-out, or your supervisors would have had to instigate an opt-out to help fix your roads. My township has got a bigger opt-out levy than they do a general fund levy.
You got these guys that all live on the highway. They don't have very many gravel roads, and if they do have gravel roads,
But the county isn't liable for your township road.
how many people are gonna,
Well, I think you show a lot of courage for speaking up and talking as Jim. And this, basically, what she's telling us is the human factor in this. We have problems with our taxes. The taxes have gone up leaps and bounds. We go and inquire about it. Nobody ever tells us that we're being overtaxed 18% on our land. We don't know where to go about stuff. We don't know how to file, in circuit court. We didn't know we had to get a lawyer. I go up to the window 2 weeks ago at the court office, and they tell Jim and myself that we have to have a lawyer to file, just like Chris did. But we didn't even know that we needed to really take further action within 30 days when we filed under appeal or protest. And it's just like we're kind of left out here uninformed. She used the term dumb farmers. Maybe we are in some ways, but we can't know everything. We can't know the law like a lawyer does. And it's very, very frustrating. So I commend you for speaking up from the heart.
And I don't want to slam any farmer in here.
Well, it's not dumb farmers, because I could tell you right now, you could ask attorneys, and about 90% of them don't have a clue about the process, because they have to learn about the process. So it's not farmers, it's not the city folk, it's
But
everyone.
I mean, when my mom goes up and acquires at the assessor's office, and they go, we'll give you a call. We don't get a call. We assume, and as store manager told me, don't ever assume they make an ass of yourself and me. But we assume we'll either get a call or a letter or some information back saying something of we're right on the taxes, or I'm sorry to say that, and I know there's a lot of farmers, but when one person goes up, I know there's got to be more that had to acquire just at the assessor's office just by speaking.
There's a lot of people every year that go to their township first, which is the process, and then Gene brings it in front of the county commission, and there was 2 or 3 different sessions for that. And a lot of things get changed
And I mean,
throughout
this
the
year,
year. So a lot of people do it.
This year we did it, but like I said, when you go up to the assessor's office and they say, "We'll give you a call," or "We'll let you know."
We didn't know it was improper, and basically,
Yeah.
we went to the,
We
I
went
went
to
to
the
my
authority
township,
to-
and I went to the assessor's office, and basically the response I got from going to both places was, this is state law. There was nothing said about 18% extra taxation on us. And Mike went there too, Mike Crady here. And, he talked to Mary Worley about it at the time, and there was nothing said about
And I mean,
18%
if
extra.
we had the information given to us, we could have had, so the communication broke down.
And just like you guys didn't know, we didn't. I mean, we
Yeah.
did everything by the book. We went through the audit, we went through the state, we did what we thought we were supposed to be doing.
Yeah, and
So we can relate to not knowing.
I watched the videos, I got here, the agendas and that. So I watched the videos. The only thing is, I watched the videos and a lot of, it's like, I didn't know. We didn't know the process.
Well,
And I mean, yeah, none of us know.
if you look at the process, Gene in Levin, when our paperwork was sent in the Department of Revenue, they had the neighborhoods, which was 2 at the time.
Correct.
They had a graph showing 118% for those 15 townships. They showed the graph of what the percentage was going to be for the other townships. Now, I don't think you can get any clearer than that. When you send in the Department of Revenue, and they've got everything in front of them, they look at it, and they stamp their approval that we can do that. And here we are 7 years later saying, nope, you can't do that. Who's at fault? I mean, how would we know this when the state is, remember, the higher authority is the state, not the county.
Yeah.
When they come back and they stamp that, and they tell us that, hey, you're good, and it goes on like this, and all of a sudden we get a disgruntled employee, and he says, oh, you can't do that. That's the first we knew of it. And not just Brown County's doing it. There's 6 or 7 other counties. I'd like to know how in the hell they're handling this.
And like you said, Brown County is the first one. They're gonna wait until Brown County gets it figured out. And
Go ahead, Ray.
I really appreciate what you're saying, the grievance that she has, but I think we need to look forward, and let's not look backwards. And because Brown County is probably going to set a precedence here, I think we really need to take a good look at how we want to go forward. I do believe totally the state has some responsibility here, but how do we approach it? And so I guess I'm asking you, as commissioners, and give us some guidance of what we should do, if we should personally go and file claims to give you support to go for it. I guess that's what I'm asking.
That's a tough one to answer, Ray, because ethically I can't give legal advice to
I
anybody
know.
except the county.
I guess that's why I brought Drew along to kind of listen in today, if we need to take some legal action. And it's nothing against, hey, I want to work with you, not against you, because I'm paying tax dollars too for all this to sit here, okay?
Here's the one thing
Yeah.
I'll tell you, that my reading on all of this is that the state doesn't necessarily just think it's the county's fault. That's easy for them to point and say it's all the county.
Yeah.
They think that if they just sit on their hands and don't do anything, nothing's going to come of it, because nothing's ever come of it, because you have to hire an attorney. Now, if they do hire, if you did hire an attorney and went forward against the state, I know what the state's legal opinion is. They don't have liability, and neither does the county, because you missed all of those years in the past. And they think a judge kicks it out right away, and no one's successful in a lawsuit. That's what I think the state's legal opinion is.
Okay.
So they're not scared of any of this, because they think they'll win in court if it goes there.
Okay.
I gotta disagree.
And I
I got lawyers from out of state that are just chomping at the bit to come to South Dakota and take, oh yeah, and they say 360,000 acres times $1, times $2 is cheap. It's cheap for us to spend the money on the litigation part. The litigation part will be long, it'll be drawn out, y'all will have to sit in some depositions that you will not like, but we'll find out who's right and who's wrong if we litigate it.
there's a reason you had to go out of state for it, I'll tell you that much.
Well, nobody in the state wants to, although we do have lawyers in Sioux Falls that act like they're out of state and they're not too far away.
And there's one from a very large firm that is involved.
So, bottom line here is that, can we just say you're not going to take our offer? Because that would be by far the simplest way, is to spread this over 8 years. Basically, I got to go get seed beans for my son. I can't sit here all day and listen to this. So y'all have to do a little something different, like come up with a plan. If you can't come up with a plan, then let us know, because then we will come up with a lawyer. Lawyers are chomping at the bit for this. They smell blood in the water. This is not just Brown County. We're talking about Minnehaha, Day. You can go all the way around. There's 66 counties, and I'll guarantee you, there's not one of them that probably got a booklet on how to basically come into
$5 for the scholarship fund. Thank you.
and teach people how to audit.
I understand your frustration.
Sorry.
But you know, when you're dealing with the state and they make these
I know.
approvals,
Yeah.
where does that put the county commissioners, whether, if there's 40 out of 66 that are being wrong, where does that put the county commission? I mean, we're not geniuses either. We don't
You
know
guys
this
are
is
not
going
to
on.
blame here. You're not to blame.
I understand, but for us to make a decision and spend county money, I agree with you 100% that, and it's not like we're spending other taxpayers' money. It's your own money that you overpaid. I'm not spending John Brown's house money here in Aberdeen. It's your tax money that you overpaid. So we're not spending other taxpayers' monies. It's your dollars that was overpaid.
But if
Well,
somebody
and
came in
you're
here-
gonna have to do what you gotta do, and we understand that. I think we've already made the motion that we're willing to pitch in the $513,000, which I know is not nearly enough. But we're already trying to figure out where are we gonna cut, where can we find that? We're trying to do something, but the letter from the state, I just wanna say, it's not over. We're gonna keep working with the state's attorney's office to see where we can push this. But some of that's gonna be talked about in executive session, I believe. To me, I mean, I'm not done fighting this fight, but to be able to say to you that we can go back all those years, I just don't know right now where we're getting the 1 year. So we're trying to pony up something, but I can't look you in the eye right now and say, yeah, we're gonna give you everything back, because we just don't have it.
We don't want
If we
everything
were to
back.
get something,
We don't even expect
if we're gonna
everything
push
back.
it with the state and we do get something back, yeah, we'll continue to give what we get back, but that's where I'm at, I
And I
guess.
think your attorneys will tell you that that agreement that may go out if this gets approved, and I think it's already been approved, so it'll probably go out at some point, you get the money from the county, you're releasing the county, you can still sue the state. They're not involved in this. They didn't want to be involved in it. They said they don't care about being released. There's a reason they don't care about it, because they don't think there's any liability. Well,
The problem here is, you know, I mean, we can talk about who's to blame, we can do whatever we want. The problem isn't the taxes. The problem is the assessment. The problem is and always has been the assessment. You wrote in a letter, we found no landfall or windfall. The county got no extra money. I agree. The schools did not get any extra money. The townships didn't get any extra money. What happened? Where did our money go? Do you know? Do you have an idea where it went? I know where it went. We assessed improperly. When I pay taxes to my school, Aberdeen, some people, some other people, paid 30% less than I did on the same value property. We both owned the same $100,000 worth of property, and somebody paid 1/3 less than I did. Wow. Equalization doesn't mean try to figure out how somebody can pay somebody else's taxes. Now, you could be right that the state did not properly educate the people who are doing the assessment. I, in fact, think that they did do it wrong. I stood down here in the basement and asked the guy from the state how to do this, and he didn't know. I read it to him 3 times. When I was done, he argued, well, that's my responsibility, says he. Wow. What says right in state law is the responsibility of the assessor, he said, was my responsibility. I don't think they know. But you know what? Where is our money going to come back from, if we got any of it back? The question you're asking, will it come from the state? Did the state get the money? No. Did you get the money? No. Did the schools get the money? No. Where the hell did it go? It came from the wrong people. Assessment is a big step. We have, I don't know, 1/4 of the county government that's in the business of assessing to make sure that we get equal taxes. Was that done? No. Should the state have known? Maybe. Should you have known? Maybe. Did the person who actually did that assessing back in 2010 when there was only 2, did she know? I don't know. Still, we're sitting here as landowners. I cannot go out and sue the state for this. I can't go after the state with this. I knew when I paid my taxes in 2017 that I paid this year, that I paid too much because I already had learned that in January. What was my option? Oh, I could pay under protest. So I did. Which does me what good? I have no option. Even this year, when I do have an option, I don't. Who's at fault here? Surely you couldn't go back and point at some landowner and say, you should have gone somewhere, you should have done something. And yet, that's all I hear. I cannot believe you. I brought along maps today, because I spent some time doing it, that overlays our districts, or our neighborhoods over the top of school districts. We just take Aberdeen school districts, about 1/3 of the people paid 30% less. About 1/3 of the people paid 20% less. And about 1/3 of the people in the Aberdeen school district, Aggies, paid the rest. Made up the 20% less that somebody paid. Made up the 30% less that everybody else paid in the Aberdeen school district. And when you talk about $1.34 might be the county share, that could be. It's probably twice that or more in just the city share, or in just the Aberdeen Public Schools share. And yet, the schools didn't get more money. You didn't get more money. But I looked at the letter that you sent to the state that you gave to us last week. Thank you for that, so we could look at a copy.
I'm not sure that you understand what you're asking the state for, because you said in that letter, we didn't get a windfall. We can't possibly be responsible. Wow. I knew that in January that you didn't get a windfall. I knew in January that we overpaid because somebody else underpaid. And it doesn't make any difference which school district we're in. Groton has got people that paid 20% less. You can't pick out a school district that we did not overpay on. So it wasn't just to the county. As a matter of fact, it really didn't affect townships, because all of us in every township paid the same amount. Some of us were assessed at 118%. If we'd have been assessed at 100%, the mill levy would have been up and our taxes would have been the same for the township. So we're clearly not arguing about the township share.
Well,
They got theirs right. No.
I'm at least learning the process here.
Well,
And it,
my point is, we have something we need to do. I can tell you that I wrote letters to 1,000 taxpayers that overpaid, that were overassessed, therefore overpaid. Out of them, many of those folks had already paid their taxes, and so they didn't respond. 250 of those 1,000 paid under protest.
and we were one of them.
But it didn't really make any difference because you had to go to circuit court. Nobody's ever done that before. It's almost as though no one in South Dakota has actually done the assessment wrong until 2010. And then we didn't know about it till this year. So we're still trying to learn what could we do. When you write a check to the county treasurer for 20% more than you owe, probably not, because of the township part of it, but we paid 20% too much to the county, we paid 20% too much to the schools, because somebody got a tax break. Your solution for where the money comes from is pretty clear to me. The people who benefited since 2010, I don't care how small, those people who benefit are the people that are going to have to pay us back. The state can't get that money. Who can get it? We asked 1 week ago for you folks to look at a way to build this into your budget over the next several years, raise the mill levy enough to collect that money so that we can get paid back. I also told you last week, and I stand by what I said last week, I'd be glad to testify on Brown County's behalf that the state did not do its job very well. You'd like to see the complexity that happens when you assess improperly. You already have to know that because you've been struggling with it since January. But it looks pretty bad when you put the school maps on top of the neighborhood maps. Thank you. Your turn.
Are you still planning on going forward with this offer that was made several weeks ago in that letter to the state as far as returning the county portion of the taxes for this year?
You're talking about the $500 offer that was made for the 2017?
$500?
500,000?
500,000, yes.
513.
Okay, and you're still going to require that we all sign an agreement not to sue with that?
Us. Not
I think
to
that
us.
was the offer. I
To the
don't
state, like-
know that we ever voted on that.
Yeah, we
Yeah, we did.
You
voted on?
You voted to approve it and then send the letter. But I wish that you would reconsider that because I do not feel that that type of an agreement is in any way, shape, or form fair, given what's happened here. I think you do owe us back money, and I don't think we should have to sign an agreement.
Excuse me. my son's in the Army, and he calls me up mostly when he doesn't have anything to do, and I might have some gossip. So I told him about you guys overtaxing us. And then I sent him the paper that said that you might pay something back. And he turned around to me and he said, whatever you do, if you need money, you call me and I will send you some money. But do not take the money and sign that paper, because they can wipe you out. And I'm thinking, my mom said you pay the taxes, you pay your bills, and then if there's something else, you might be able to get whatever you want. Well, I'm up there in age now where I really can't think of what I want, but I can think. But the taxes came first. That's $7,000 out of my money. The lights, telephone, whatever bills I got, they came next. And there wasn't hardly anything left, because you guys kept saying, I started out, when we bought the land, I started out with $2,100 taxes a year in 2010. And you guys jumped me up to $7,000. Now, you need it, fine. I can go without stuff, so you guys can have more than what you should have. But I want some of my money back. And my son said, don't sign the damn paper. Put on your check, you protest, pay the taxes under protest. He's been in 25 years or better now. And he's smart. I don't know where he got his smarts, but it wasn't from me. But the trouble is, you listen to him. I don't know where he got his smarts, but you listen to him. Of course, it doesn't bother you when he's a drill sergeant and mothers can yell louder. What's coping mean?
Excuse me, could I get some clarification about, it's about all we have left to do here is to file with an attorney our protest about the taxes in check form with the circuit court. I haven't got anybody tell me anything yet that makes any sense. You haven't said anything to us that will get us from A to B. In other words, to see a judge. You're saying, good luck finding a lawyer. I agree with you. I agree 100%. Good luck finding a lawyer. It shouldn't be that hard. It just shouldn't be that hard. We're being denied due process. We should not have to do this. We should be able to go to the window, have a form, sign it, fill out the land that you're protesting taxes on, and it should be done. And then we would take the next step, probably to the state. How come we can't go any further than this?
That process begins before you pay your taxes. That's the administrative process, through the township, through the county, and then up to the administrative boards and peer.
Well, we know how to do the assessment protest. That came right with your assessment. This is
And
what
I'm
you
talking
do.
that protest is a separate process.
I know.
You pay in your protest, 30 days after that you have to file suit. It's the two separate ways to go about it.
But you make it impossible.
I don't make it.
Somebody makes it.
I never
I'm
make
not
the
accusing
laws.
you.
That's the way the laws are.
I'm just saying, something happens here where government just goes, nothing to see here, go away. We don't want nothing. That's why nobody appealed in the last 7 years, because basically we didn't know we were being hosed like we were getting hosed. And so that's why we didn't do it. It's pretty hard to know something when nobody tells you what to know. We did not know until January 6th or 9th, whatever it was, that we had this problem. And then all of a sudden, whoa, now we're supposed to figure it out in less than 6 months? I will tell you this, that this is just the first volley. The next set of taxes are actually due November 1st. We will have powder in our guns, we will have our all the landscape will be ready for you.
It's just the second half payment. though.
Exactly. The
From
first half,
year.
there's $1 million sitting in here that was under protest. The second half, we'll try to have a little bit more. And when you start running out of money, then maybe you'll figure out what form we have to fill out to get to the window to see the judge.
Well, I can't tell you what form to fill out because then I would lose my law license because you're not my client.
Well, somebody needs to tell us.
Somebody needs to tell us.
You got an attorney you brought with you?
I'm not
He
talking
can help you
about
with
an
that.
attorney. Can I say something?
Well, let me answer that question quick. Sheila can't give you legal advice because then she would get in trouble because she's not an
I don't
attorney.
want legal advice, I just want the form.
There is no form.
See, you just answered my
Well, I've
question.
never heard of a form.
You
Maybe
can't go
there-
any further than where we're going.
a sheet that tells you the process you have to follow? I don't live here in Brown County anymore. I moved out of Brown County, but I still own land here. I
That's a dumb
happen
good
to be
question, and the Department of
lucky
Revenue, I
enough
know,
to
has
be
a
here today.
website that walks you through the process.
How do I
because I've looked
find
at
it out?
but-
No, we don't know. Nobody, we didn't know.
Yeah.
No, who knew?
I think everybody here
I
is in
don't
agreement
disagree
that
with
we're
any of your
getting screwed.
frustrations
We
at
have
all.
that.
I'm just telling you, this is the
Now what do
process.
we do?
Okay.
There's a reason that the Department of Revenue was so confused with how all of this goes, because it's a convoluted process and it's a dang mess. It is.
Nobody's ever questioned them.
But real quick on the, before Drew goes, real quick on the agreement, the release agreement. Sure. That's drafted by the farmer's attorney, by the landowner's attorney.
Not ours.
Not ours.
Not.
You haven't seen it? None of you have seen it. None of you have seen it, because it's sitting in my office, and it's drafted by Ken Gosh, along with other attorneys, people that actually have attorneys. They're the ones that drafted it. All I did was tweak a few things to make sure that you could still come back and sue the state and keep the county out of it. That's all I tweaked. It hasn't been sent out because there hasn't been, there was a motion for the $513,000 and then a new proposal brought, so we haven't sent anything out because that's going to be quite a process. But you haven't seen the agreement. So to say you won't sign it when the landowner's attorneys drafted it, I think's foolish, but that's up to you folks.
Well, if you take the part about signing away all your rights to sue for everybody, we would settle for the 1 year like this, and then at least we would have 1 year taken care of, and maybe a little standing for how we address the problem.
What do you mean by that?
By the fact that if we have to have a piece of paper that releases everybody from, except the state, that means we have to go after just the state. We're saying we'll settle this 1 year at a time. Let's take 17, payable in 18. We know we'll take the $1.35, but we're not going to sign anything saying that we're giving up our rights to being able to sue anybody. Just settle 1 year at a time.
So maybe that's the miscommunication. The agreement is releasing the county. And Drew will tell you, any attorney is going to tell you, that I should lose my job as state's attorney if I give them legal advice for the county commission to say, go ahead and pay money without a release agreement. That would be absolutely crazy legally. No one would allow that. No one. And I'll tell you this, if the commission votes to give money without having their liability released, I'll be the first one here in front of the American News hollering and screaming to make sure everyone knows what my legal opinion was, because it's not coming back and bite me, because that would be crazy. So I think that's where it stands. The release would release the county, not the state. So if you want to go after the state, and it sounds like everybody's blaming the state, you can still go after the state, and you can still get some money from the county. That's the way it's set up, and there's a reason too, I keep saying this, that some landowners want that. The ones that have attorneys that got legal advice want that agreement. They're the ones that hash it out with the county.
Drew?
Thank you. I'm here as a landowner, not necessarily as an attorney for this distinguished group of gentlemen that are here. I have met with another group, including these people, on another occasion. I've made it clear that I'm not right now going to be their attorney of record unless other things change. I think what we were hoping for today is to see where the county commission is sitting and how you're going to respond to this complaint that all these protesters that don't pay their taxes are going to get from the county. And now I think the heavy lifting is going to come, because I think what Doug just said was you're going to stay with the old $1.34 payment of $534,000, whatever that number was, and that's not going to get any better. So I think that's going to change the format of what's going to happen going into the future. But as a lawyer, and again, I'm also a taxpayer, and I'm here to say we paid under protest too, but it is difficult to get somebody as a lawyer to represent anybody, and I can tell you what my experience is with this issue. And Chris has said it, it's very convoluted. This is kind of a one-time deal. There isn't a whole lot of case law that's ever developed in a sense of setting precedent for this kind of deal. The only reason we can even take it to circuit court is because the legislature said there's two ways you can challenge your and get a refund on taxes. One is the abatement process, and the other is paying the protest process. And this is what we're doing here is the second one. So that going into the protest is a very specific statute. 1027-2 is the statute that says you have to, when you pay your taxes, you have to sign under protest and explain why. And there's, I think, 1,000 taxpayers altogether, but there's 250 or 60, and Jim has that number, who have legitimate protest claims that could go to circuit court. But in doing a little bit of research that I've done, the easiest way to do that is through a class action lawsuit, which I've talked about. Many people have said, well, why don't you just do it with one lawsuit? Well, there's a case from 1979 that says you can't start a class action lawsuit because they're not authorized by the tax code that we're working with. But if you're going to take 260, 50 or 60 people as a lawyer and take this issue into circuit court, you would have nothing to do for a year or more but do this one case. And what these people are really fighting for individually is so small compared to the overall tax bill that has been overcharged for 8 years, that then they're only going to get 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 back. That individual is going to pay far more in attorney's fees to collect that refund than it's worth. It really isn't even financially feasible to do that. To say that the taxpayers have to hire an attorney or maybe a cadre of attorneys, but I know there's one firm in Sioux Falls, I won't mention any names, wanted a $100,000 retainer fee from these people to take this case on. Now, what do you get back for the $100,000? You're talking about suing the state. I can assure you the first thing out of the chute is going to be, you can't sue us. We're the king. There's governmental immunity. And there's no statute that I've seen that authorizes this process to go any place but to circuit court. And the Department of Revenue is not mentioned any place. The specific statute says we can sue Sheila, the county treasurer, and take her to court. But there's nothing about suing the Department of Revenue. And I agree with you, Doug. That's where it should go, because they did approve this, and they've approved it every year. And that's the real culprit here. But I don't think that's going to get done. Maybe Chris has got some other way to get around what they're going to claim as governmental immunity. So I don't think there's a whole lot of hope in going after the state government because of that defense that they have is no governmental immunity. But the reason we can sue the county treasurer is because it specifically says in the code that the county waives the governmental immunity for the treasurer here, and we can do that. But again, that is going to take, if everybody files in circuit court, and I think in a lot of those cases that 30-day time frame is probably statutorily already like a statute of limitations, barring any future claims. A lot of those claims have been paid under protest 3-4 months ago already. And so those are, out of the picture. You're not going to be able to have those taxpayers to come in and try to budget. So what I'm saying is, for the taxpayers involved, the place that it needs to start right here with the commission to do something better than the $1.34 per acre that you offered. So these taxpayers don't have to take their hard-earned money to fight the county or fight the state and fight the government in general to get what is wrongly taken from them. And I think that's where this should come back to, as Carson said over here, that we're not satisfied with the $1.34, and that's really not going to excite too many people. And I think there's a real genuine interest in somehow with this group moving on from here to see what they can do. But those are my thoughts about it, and again, I say that not in defense of any of these people here today. I say that in my own sense of being a landowner that's affected by the same problem. I thank you for your time.
I sit and looked at this thing since this happened, and you had a township that was at 87. There's a middle tier of us that were at 97. So we were close to the water. So, you know, there's probably not an issue. Then you have the 1.18s. You know, my thought was is next year, everybody's gonna go 1. That's the way it is. Regardless where you are, it's gonna be 1. That's what the state wants. So we spent 7 years at our tiers of 87, 97, 118. I can't see why we can't make this work, and I don't know if we can, or the state will probably control this. But they let us do us wrong for 7 years. I see no reason why we can't go to a 1 factor on the 2 townships that we're getting the break and lower you on that end to make up for some of this over a number of years. But I don't know that we can do that because all of a sudden the state says everybody has to be at the 1 factor. But it does say you can make reductions. But I don't believe the reduction in their terminology says, well, if you overpaid for previous years, you can get a reduction. It's not in the terminology. So I don't know if we can get away with that. I would be very open to it, but I don't know I'm only one commissioner. That's my thoughts. I think that's how you eliminate this, because the county doesn't have $1.5 or $2 million to pay out.
Oh, yeah.
But over
I totally agree. And when we talked to the Department of Revenue, Doug, I think if I'm understanding you correctly, we've talked to them about that exact issue, and they essentially say, well, then you're just doing it in reverse.
I made the suggestion to put those 15 townships at .87 for...
And then he says you're going to have the same amount of appeals from the other side, and you're just back in the same spot you're in, and you can't do that, because if they ran it up to the state...
That would be the best way, I think.
It'd be the easiest way for the county to fix it. You know, the middle tier at 97%, what do we care? We're at 1 anyway. You know, and I realize that they were assessed 18% higher to make up for the other end. Now you have the group that was at 87, they're going to go to 1. Well, they're going to go to 1 regardless, because that's the way the plan's going to go from here on. Everybody's going to be at 1 in 2019, payable 20. The difference would be is, in fact, in 7 years, if you look at the numbers, what the 15 townships were assessed on just the county portion, I think you're not getting all your money back, but it'd be a cleaner fix. We wouldn't have to transfer money. I think that's the fix, but can we get away with it? And I guess if Allison and those townships over don't think it's fair, well, they had the benefit of it the earlier years. Now we got to get out of this mess somehow. I just think you have to try to figure out how you lower that assessment for those 15 townships for a number of years. I'll speak my piece. That's my thoughts.
Well, the key to it would be the understanding for those folks it's temporary. I don't know if they'd be sold on that or not. You'll have screaming, obviously.
I mean, it's essentially like doing an abatement. At least that's my understanding. You can abate it back 4 years. It's the same thing. You're just going to charge the other people the extra taxes to make up for the abatement. You can do that too. We've talked about that.
Well, that's what's happened over the last 7 years. They paid their portion for the other portion according to what the state says. Now, honestly, I don't know that I see that, because I see the way the state wrote the program. We were following what state wanted to, but now all of a sudden they say, no, you're doing it wrong. Well, the way the state was doing it wrong, yes, you overpaid 18%. So, you know, it's a no-win situation.
If you do the abatement, the higher taxes that make up for the other taxes get spread out over the entire tax base, not just the previous landowners, just so everyone understands. I mean, we've talked about all the options. Every option's been laid out there.
But one of the things that we just heard is that we can't do this as a group. So for you to say, we need to talk to your attorney is a little ridiculous, because
Well,
there
it's
might
not,
be
because
250 attorneys.
It's not ridiculous, because there's an attorney that represents a large group of people already.
Well, it could be, but I can tell you, he's not going to go to circuit court with a lot of people, so we can't talk to that. But that isn't the end of the thing. Do you or do you not pay a bond for the person who did the assessment? Right? Now, you can look, but I already know the answer to that. Somebody pays it, because in state law, it says that if there's an undertaxing, that it comes out of the bond of the assessor, even if the assessor is not the chief assessor. And it says so in section 10. I can't tell you, I'm a long ways from an attorney, and I can't tell you, but there's a whole section in there talking about the director of equalization. And it says if there was under assessment, that's where the money comes from. Now, I shouldn't have to tell anybody that. As a farmer, I sure shouldn't have to tell anybody that. But I'm not an attorney. But I know what it says. We already know your insurance policy that you pay for isn't worth the money you're spending on it, because it doesn't cover anything.
Covers everything with taxes.
The assessor, however, in that section of law, says if there's under assessment, where it comes from. And it says the bond. Now, does the bond disappear when Mary Worley retires? Is her bond gone? Do you have to catch it during that year? Well, there's a lot of things I don't know about how bonds work. But if I was somebody sitting there wondering where the money was coming from, I would try to be asking my attorney, where did the money come from? And it shouldn't be from your windfall, because you didn't get one. And it shouldn't come from the schools where you've already spent it, because they didn't get a windfall either. We know where it has to come from. And what you just talked about is that way. That was the proposal we brought to you last week. And we understand that with the proposal that we offered last week, that our mill levies will go up and we'll be paying ourselves back. But at least those people who benefited over the last years. And when you say, well, we were at 97, so we really didn't do anything. No, I paid 20% more taxes for $1,000 of valuation than you did over the whole time. And even though my friend the senator here says he didn't, he was right at 97, so he has nothing in it. I only paid 20% more than he did. I paid his taxes for the last 8 years. Maybe if he pays my taxes for the next 8, I'll feel a little better about it. Thank you, Paul.
Well, I'll have to respond first. Let's step back to the start of this. I think I heard 3 times from this group, I don't remember who, that we didn't know that we had a factor of 118. I'm here to tell you, just like Doug said, this plan went to Pier. They knew it. Every township supervisor and or clerk had an opportunity to go right down here every year, and Mary gave them the form. Every one of them in that form, I think, knew, seeing that 15 townships had a factor of 118. So for you guys to tell me you didn't know this, either your supervisor didn't pass it on, or you was uninformed and not concerned. I knew it because I was in Pier most of those years. I stayed in direct contact with Mary, and we talked about the 118 factor. This commission knew about the 118 factor, right, Tom, Dwayne, Nancy? You all knew it. It was not a hidden thing. It was the way Mary did her assessments. Mary's charged by law to make assessments and equalization. She had to raise this much value. She made the assessment by saying, the southeast portion, we're going to go above 1. Doug and I happen to be at 0.97. The other area, 8.5 or whatever they were, 8.7. That's how Mary, and she's charged to do that. She did that difference, which she called it, she equalized it. By doing that, then, she drew a line, and it's real interesting to me that they're complaining about neighborhoods when Day County did the same thing, but theirs aren't called neighborhoods. Now, how can drawing a line in Brown County be a neighborhood and Day County not? I don't know. But Mary equalized that way, and she figured according to the formula that she added an 18 factor for the best land, the highest soil rating land in the county. If you want to look at, I've been charged with why should Columbia and Garland be different? Why? Columbia's average soil rating is 0.84, I can dig it out, or 8.2. Garland's is 0.64. Should there be a difference? Yeah, there is, because each parcel goes by soil factor. Mine, most of them are at 0.7 something. So I've always said, Jim, that I've been the average. I figured the .97, and I wasn't saying that I knew you paid more taxes due to your higher value than I did on 100,000. But I always used the factor that when I was in Pierre, I didn't represent the 9/7. I represented you guys and the North guys. And I figured, when I knew about this, I figured that was a fair equalization process. I think the commission did too. They sent it to the state approved it for 10 years or 7 years. I don't know today going forward, I did some paperwork on the future for you guys. And what's proposed for next year, right today, payable next year, you guys will get at least, now back up, you will get roughly a $5 an acre discount in your taxes, depending on the budgets and the mill levy that's set. I know the school mill levy, I don't know the county mill levy, that's going to depend on the total valuation of county. Your township levy, you've all agreed, is immaterial, because you raised your own money. But the county levy will be the big key, but it's looking on what's proposed right today. You guys will get it right at a $5, if your mill levy doesn't change, a $5 decrease in your taxes next year. I'll sit down and work through it with you. Mine will stay the same. My taxes will stay the same. What's being proposed, Doug, we talked about it. The north and northwest area next year won't go up too much, payable next year, but the year after that, 2020, and to me the state is doing this wrong because the state is going to set that factor, and in 2020, when everybody goes to 1, and I agree with Doug, we should go to 1, but the factor won't change much. You might hear the big outcry from over there because their taxes are going to go up $3, $4, $5 an acre, depending on the mill levy again. And then they're going to cry, and I think Chris mentioned that just recently, that I've always said that you're going to get an outcry from those people because of their big increase. Now, you've also talked about abatement and setting the mill levy to pay you guys back. That mill levy will affect you just like it will me, so you'll be taxed more to pay yourself back. But granted, I'll be taxed more to pay you back too. So you know, we're talking today about valuations. We shouldn't even bring up taxes, because Jim brought the idea of the Aberdeen School District. Mr. Swisher, I pay more taxes per acre than you do. And my land is valued nowhere near yours. Because I'm in the Aberdeen School District. That was my choice. So I won't complain. My nephew, 4 miles east of me, land is valued a lot higher than mine. At the point when I found it, I pay $2, $3 an acre more in taxes than he does because of the school district. I've also got land in the Frederick district. That is about halfway in between Aberdeen and Groton. Groton's the lowest one in the county. I got land in Frederick, that's about halfway in between for the taxes per acre. So this issue is all valuation. Taxes are a separate issue because of fire districts, county levy, township levy. When this lady talked about Cambria Township not fixing her roads, she should be blaming herself. County didn't fix her roads, but by the way, I bet they got a bunch of federal money to fix her roads in those years. But why come and complain to you about her roads? They got one of the lowest mill levies in the Wausau.
Because my road board told me that they get the money from the commissioners.
No, they don't. You set your mill levy.
I'm just saying, that's what my road board told me.
Okay.
So I went to...
Well, they're wrong. You
Well,
know,
I'm learning the basics now, but that's, over the years, I've gone to the road board, and then they go, oh, we have no money because the the Brown County area doesn't give us money. So I'm getting the wrong information.
Well,
I'm learning.
I have followed this for 20-some years, and I think we as landowners should be thankful for two reasons, and I'll be quiet. You're darn lucky that we value ag property by production. You better be thankful, because if you go by sales, Mr. Hunstead a few years ago wanted to pass a law that said you pay your taxes based on what you paid for the land. That's one thing Jim did, and it failed. And I voted against it, because if you want to pay, or my nephew pay taxes on, I don't know, raise $6,000, $7,000 land, and I pay it on a $150 purchase price, is that equal and fair? No, it isn't. But that, Jim offered that bill at one time, and he won't, because he knows he did. But so where's the productivity? Be thankful, because your productivity valuation, in most cases in this county, is 40% of its market value. So if you want to change the law and go to market, and use all these average sales, that's your prerogative. Another issue that comes up, you guys don't know, or don't want to know, or don't think about. For school general fund, you pay $1 of 1.5 mils. Houses in this county pay double that, 3-point-something mils. And that commercial building over there pays 6.6 mils. Now, if you want to go to Pierre and argue, and I could count the ag owners in Pierre, we've had bills introduced in Pierre that says, why does ag only pay 1.5? And I've had calls, why do I pay 3.3? Not many commercial call me because they pass their taxes on. But I have seen bills introduced that says, why do you get a break? Well, let's go back to the drawing board and charge them all the same. Add 6, 6, 3, 3, and 1, 5 together, what do you get? 12. Divide it by 3. You could be paying 4 bills for school general fund instead of 1.5. If you want to smoke that pipe, go to Pierre and see how you turn out. Another issue is, I can't go on. I'll close there. I think, personally, think that you should sign off, look forward, because you're going to get a big break, and then we'll all be at one going forward. I'm sorry, but as we said, the 118 was out there, and please don't tell me nobody knew. Because your supervisor knew it, your clerk knew it, so you maybe didn't know it, but they knew it. Tom Fishback knew it, and his clerk knew it. My clerk probably knew it if they were at the meeting. I don't know, but I knew it. And so I really resented. My first call in this issue was from Mr. Dennis Jones. We've had a good association for 30 years. He said, Paul, I didn't know it. How come I didn't know it, you knew it? Well, I was involved, but he said nobody knew it. His own board, township board, should have known. So I really get a little uptight when I hear 3, 4 people there say they didn't know it. Evidently, you don't have an association with your board of supervisors in your township, so.
He's my son. I don't want to disagree with you there, but literally, you're a pretty small club, very small club that knew it.
That knew
that knew it. Yeah, and taxes are an exciting subject, as you can well tell. It's just everybody's busting out to get into this argument.
Let's not talk taxes, let's talk valuation.
That's exactly what we should talk about. We should spread this thing over 8 years. We gave you guys a real fair offer, and if you can't take it today, we understand that. But I got to go get seed for my township board of supervisors.
I appreciate your time, I really do.
Thank you.
I really
Thank
do.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks
I
for your
appreciate
opinion.
it, guys and gals.
Thank you.
I have that letter, if you'd like to publish it in the newspaper. I'll give you the one from 2011 that I got from Mrs. Worley. If you can read it and understand what it says, if the average person could, it'd be interesting to see if that was in Aberdeen American News on the front page, if somebody could read it and figure out what it really actually said. It'd be like listening to my, I call him Senator Dennert, because he's my senator for a long time, and he's still a senator in my eyes. You just listen to my senator explain a lot of stuff to you, and you can go back and listen to it again and see if you can figure out what he really told you. What we know is we were over-assessed. We were over-assessed because our assessor chose to not follow the state law, which I assumed she did, but I didn't know that. We have no idea what we should have paid because we've never been assessed by state law up till now. Partly, yes, not completely no, for a whole bunch of reasons. She said that part of her land couldn't be cropland. I know it couldn't. I know a lot of land up in the corner up here is covered with rocks and could never be farmed, and it was called cropland. Because of that, it was over-assessed. Because it was over-assessed, because it was called cropland, an adjustment was made. And why isn't it called neighborhoods all over? Because Mrs. Worley made up that term and started using it. Nobody else made up that term. Certainly doesn't come out of state law. It does come out of assessment if you're trying to look at property and how it's done by sales, because it turns out that near the school, your house is worth more than farther away from the school, and so that neighborhood close to the elementary school usually has a higher value. That's where the neighborhooding term comes from. Not from anything about ag law, though.
Doug,
We need to fix this.
you know, in the 8 years that I spent down in the legislature, what I saw loud and clear is that the Department of Revenue was most concerned about funding education through property tax. Basically, the Department of Revenue doesn't give a damn about county government and how they're funded. What they care about is where the money comes from to fund education. And the fact of the matter is, if you look at the mill levies, and Paul explained some of that, I mean, you take the county and the township mill levies off of, take it out of property tax and fund county government. Take the school mill levy off the general mill levy, and you've got a lot of problems solved. I would encourage any of these people that are protesting this 118 and get involved in funding education in a different manner, and we're going to solve a whole lot of problems. But there isn't anybody that has the intestinal fortitude to come down to Pierre and get involved in maybe a small corporate income tax. No, we can't do that because we've got to protect our big campaign contributions from all these corporations that they're worried about might get a small corporate income tax put on them. And I mean, it's just a continuation. Now, this morning in the paper, we got another tax increment financing district going in, another tip, $4 million that the county's going to go without for how many years? And that ain't the only one. How many millions of dollars has the county had to wait for? I mean, there's money there, but let the city give it tips. Let them give the money away and let the county wait. Make the county wait. The very first scoopiter that's moved at a tax increment financing district, the state gets contractor excise tax, the state gets sales tax, the city gets use tax and sales tax, and the county gets a bill. The roads ain't good enough. The sheriff's office is needed out there. The state's attorney's got more bills. On and on and on. I mean, come on, folks, wake up.
Just one more issue, if you don't mind, Doug. Jim mentioned the 18% factor. He said Mary went against the law. There's nothing in law that says Mary could not factor above one. There's nothing in law.
I would agree with you, but all of a sudden, did the state revenue come back and give us that letter?
I agree.
That's where the whole problem came in.
I agree, but there's nothing in law that said she shouldn't. That was the way she equalized, and she's charged to equalize. That's her charge.
She used the factor of 18, 5.7, and 8.7 to equalize the county. So that's my take on it, and there's nothing in law. So I don't think that a lawsuit you can win because there's nothing in law that says she couldn't go by law.
That's what we were going by.
Yeah, but, so if they want to go to court, that's fine. And I've always said, I figured, why I said I was neutral, I thought I would voice my opinion, because Doug and I are at 9-7. I wasn't, we go to 1, we don't gain or lose, Jim. We go to 1, we're so close anyway. Yes, you paid more taxes on the same value, because you, or on more value, because you had the 18% kicker. Doug and I figured we were neutral. The guys that paid less was mainly the South and Northwest. And I would like this lady beside me, and or Jean, to sit down. I know my taxes have doubled, or just about tripled, on an acre of land, in a lot of cases, since this all started. But for hers to go to, from 2,000 to 7,000, I would have to look at the records. To me, something else had to take place in that. If the acreage didn't change, or a house didn't change, I don't know how it went from 2 to 7.
Nothing changed.
If nothing changed. I would
Well,
love
we don't
to
know
sit
how far
down
back
with
it
you
was
and look
too,
at
though.
it.
We don't know how far back it was too, though.
It was 2010?
She said just 7 years ago.
Okay.
Tom, I don't know how that could have
I
changed.
thought it maybe longer.
In the same acreage, the same house, I don't know how it could have changed that much.
Well, you know, productivity in '09, I had a quarter of ground in Westport Township that was valued at $80,000. 27, that ground is now valued at $333,000. Quite a jump from '09 to 2017, so,
Yeah.
but we're talking a quarter versus, I believe your acreage was much smaller than that. I would find it hard to believe it went up if it's not a full quarter.
I mean, we got a lot more acres, but I just took the 38 acres
So I
for
guess
example.
there's another part of the story, I guess we have to
you
look
gotta
at.
tell the
as far
whole
as-
story now.
I mean, I just took that as an example of
So,
that we have...
I guess
38
basically what it boils down to is, yeah, the statement misled us. We were at 118. All of a sudden they say we can't. I think Paul hit it. I didn't see anything in statute that says you can't be a one factor when you look at it. So who's to blame? I mean, if your plan is sent in and they're approving it, and then all of a sudden, 7 years later, they say, oh, you shouldn't have done it. How do you fix that?
Are they really looking at it though? I mean, you look at how many...
Well,
How
they
many
tell us
houses-
they tell us what
I
kind of
mean-
revenue they want out of Brown County. They don't hesitate to tell us how much revenue they want.
I mean, you know, like an attorney, if you get a whole stack of papers, you're glancing at it, right?
You're asking if they've really looked at
And
how
really,
it was
really
affected
look,
each year?
really
But they look at every sale.
Well, they call it a,
audit.
a complete audit. It's a complete audit report. I mean, I think I know the answer because the director of,
Right.
Director Howdy Shell was here and he said, maybe we need to look at it a little bit closer. I mean, he
I
told
mean,
Jim that.
it, you know, maybe they glanced over it and said, looks okay, and just what you do, skim over a book, or skim over a paragraph, or skim over, you know, just fast.
When the yearly audit report comes in, and Jim, you were CC'd on them because you were a senator, and, you know, we see who all got them. When you get a yearly audit report from the Department of Revenue, you sure think that it's accurate. And I never saw one, and I wasn't around for it, but I'm assuming everyone that saw that thought it was accurate.
I was just asking because, like normal human beings, you just skim over things to get an idea of what it was.
So as a chair, I'm not able to make a motion, but I would entertain a motion to what we said earlier. Put everybody at 1 for the next, in 19 payable 20, and move it down to 90% for the ones that are in dispute. We don't, as a county, don't put money out. I don't know if the state would approve that, what kind of financial mess that would cause. It's just an option, and I don't know, Gene, would they approve that, you think?
No.
So,
I'm surprised when you decided that you were going to assess for 87 for all of us, that we're going to raise enough money in agriculture and I don't see them taking this. There are gonna have to be other adjustments made. We all can't be at 87, because if we all, I mean,
They've accepted it, I think.
that's gonna be interesting, because we're clearly not gonna raise enough money then.
Why not? They'll just raise the mill levy.
So, but you said yours was at 97, so if you had .67 land that was only rated at 97, and it was only rated at .65. If I had .98 land, and it was raised to 118%, I had some that was clearly over 100%.
You sure did.
And I certainly did. And the difference between yours moving from .67 down to .63, and mine moving from .98 to 114 is definitely different.
You're confusing soil ratings with valuation.
The soil was the base, and then we added 18% onto the base. And your soil was at 67, and we lowered that to 97% of that. That's exactly what you
It's not
did.
gonna go away, we'll have this every week.
And I know you don't know that, but that's how it works.
Commissioner Sutton.
We should end this debate because
Good day.
we need to wrap this up.
Yep.
Commissioner Sutton, to you.
Mr. Chairman, as of January 5th, this all came to light. In December of 2017, the former Director of Equalization, who we relieved of his duties, sent in the assessment plan for 2018. It's the assessment plan that we have basically been using for the last 7 years. That was sent in by the same person who then later claimed that we were doing it illegally. He never once came to us with an issue and informed us that he felt we were doing something wrong. Had that come to light any time during 2017, during the almost year that he was here, we would have had the opportunity to do something about it. We didn't have that opportunity because no one told us we were doing anything wrong, including the Department of Revenue for the last 7 years. In light of what has happened, there's no shortage of blame, there's no shortage of finger pointing on who everyone may or may not feel is responsible. But we, as a commission, made an offer a few weeks ago after a lot of thought and deliberation as to what we could do, what we should do, what we can't do based on South Dakota law. We felt we needed to do the right thing and make an offer of $513,000 for the 2017 tax year payable 18. We also took steps to equalize that to the extent that we could for the current year payable 19 as a way of working towards a one factor across the board, which we'll hopefully will institute next year. We made the offer of $513,000 not because we had to. Law didn't say we had to. We all understand all of the dialogue that's gone on here for the last 5 months. The Brown County Commission, I feel, made an offer in good faith to try and do the right thing. Where we're going to come up with that money is yet to be determined. It's not budgeted for. We felt that was a fair amount to try and do the right thing for the taxpayers. We'll work through where those dollars come from. We'll probably have to make some cuts over the next 4 or 5 years to backfill that amount. But I would recommend, since we've already voted that that's what we're going to do, is stick with our original offer so that everybody knows where they stand. Stick with the offer of the $513,000 and whatever the pennies are as a form of a refund, with the requirements that we already put in place contingent upon them signing off, because it has to be part of the plan. But I also feel that we as a commission need to, whatever we are able to do, to include the state in this and take whatever measures we have to prove to someone at the state level that they need to share in this financial responsibility. And if and when we ever get any kind of financial refund from the state, I feel that we need to make a commitment that those dollars will also go back to the landowners at whatever formula we use to derive the refund of $513,000. Let's stick with our original offer, knowing full well that over the next 2 years, everybody will be on a level playing field. But if we make that statement today, everyone will know where we stand, and I still feel that it's doing the right thing for as many landowners as we possibly can. And it's really all we can afford to do, because we do not have the money that supposedly we over-collected. I mean, it's not sitting in the bank doing no good. We have spent those dollars on what we feel are worthwhile and statutory requirements of county government.
Well, I like mine and Doug's ideas, but I can't make a motion because I got a conflict of interest.
I can't make a motion, I'm the chair.
Does the county not have any errors and omissions, insurance, or personal liability?
Doesn't cover taxation is what our understanding is. It covers anything else for the county, but taxation is not covered in that.
How about for Mary? Did she have any personal liability?
I guess
Bonding.
Okay, because I know as a pharmacist, we had to carry our own liability insurance in case we did some kind of an error or omission. And I said, she probably should have too. I think anybody that's dealing with other people's money should carry that insurance.
There's no, is anybody gonna make a motion? I'd like to have a executive session.
I guess for next meeting, it's not a motion, but maybe, I'm completely fine with what Dwayne is saying, but I also understand where Doug and Tom are coming from, but I'd like to see what that would look like. Gene, you had mentioned you don't know if the state will allow us to flip that so that we can compensate the people that were shorted in exchange for the folks that are up north. I'd like to know for sure whether that is an option or not.
I would imagine not. I think at the way we are now and what they've explained now, the only adjustments that we can make are you have to approve to the Department of Revenue that they're productivity-based, not compromise-based. And I think what will end up happening is that if we do that, I will be flooded with appeals from the other portion of the county and end up doing the exact same thing we did this year. It's probably lowering everybody to whatever that number is. State did give us a modified equalization factor with kind of the understanding that we would get rid of our location adjustments going forward. That's kind of was part of the stipulation as part of how they looked at our assessment ratio. Our ag assessment ratio with this adjustment's at about 86.4% or something to that effect. They said in good faith they will give us the equalization factor as if we're at 10% higher at 96.4% and offer us that equalization factor of 0.88 instead of a 0.98. So what that does is that makes that lower end tier townships doesn't give them the sticker shock of the big increase that they wouldn't have the opportunity to appeal. As their assessments did go up this year, meanwhile the southern townships went down this year. So had they gone up this year and still not gotten that 85 equalization factor, if they gotten the 98 equalization factor, those taxes would have probably gone up 22-23% this year instead of the probably 9 or 10 they're going to go up anyway.
But taking into account the history and the errors that perhaps were made the last few years, I'd like to reach out to them and say this is what we're thinking about doing the next 4 years to compensate and see if there's some type of a loophole in order to do it. I think that's what Doug and Tom are wondering about, and I would be fine with that too.
We've talked to him about that. I mean, we have
Yeah, we mentioned that to him.
And his answer is exactly what Gene's answer is. Yeah, you've got to prove that those are productivity adjustments. If you can't prove that, you're going to lose on appeal on all of them, just like you may have if these were appealed in the past.
So the idea that Doug and Tom are referring to is not an option.
According to the department, I'm telling you what the Department of Revenue is going to tell you. So it's going to just waste time to send them a letter asking them, because we've asked them that 2 or 3 different ways.
I'm guessing what will happen is if that were to happen next year, if we did that, instead of making one motion to lower all this southern end to 87 this year, next year we'll make a motion to lower all that northern end to 90 to be the same, just like we did this year. And then we'll have kind of used up our good faith, I think, with Department of Revenue and federal equalization.
I think they've used up theirs.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Well, I support what Dwayne was saying. I think that's our only option right now, and I think we need to go with that one. And I'm a landowner, so I can't vote.
I don't think there's anything to vote on. We already made the motion to put forth the plan, make the offer,
send the letter to the Department of Revenue, which we did and got a response to. So I think we stick with our original offer, but yet pursue whatever we're able to with the state, because for me, it's not over with the state. They need to share in the blame, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get that happening.
We may think they share in the blame, and I think it'll be a fruitless effort on our part trying to go after the state of South Dakota and revenue.
But we owe it to the taxpayers to at least try.
I think that
It'd be no
portion of it
different than
was
just
not
writing this letter and
so
asking to
maybe
sue them.
we
I think
make
you can
one.
put it on a sheet of paper and it'll get as much done as having an attorney involved with the state of South Dakota State. I can about tell you how that's gonna go over.
Can I ask you a question? And God forbid, let's say don't want to happen too soon, but my mom passed,
I'm gonna die.
let's say my mom passes away. Now, my brother and I, at this point, are not the landowners. My mom is. I am the hired hand, and my brother helps pay when he can. So in your motion, and let's just say we sign the paper, and if you do get the money, and my mom passes away, does my brother and I then get that money, or does it die with my mom?
You'll get it.
It will go to the estate, I would guess. I don't know all the legal ramifications of that, but my guess is, not being an attorney, it would go into an estate, so the refund would go to the estate, which you
It's
would
my
be
brother and I,
the heir of stuff,
And
right?
there's countless title transfers and deed transfers and splits and additions and things that have happened. I mean, there's just almost
Going back more than 1 year would be impossible,
Yeah, it's
wouldn't
just,
it?
you know, I don't know if anybody realizes the amount of activity that there's been as far as the ownership and replatting
That's what's going to make it clear, because Mom's going to get on the phone and talk to my brother, if not I. And we've got to make sure we're telling him the right information. And I will give him the Brown County, so he can look at the videos, or at least try to on a computer.
I think even refunding 1 year is going to be a monumental task. By the time we get the forms out to all the affected landowners, it's not going to be a simple or a short process.
Well, I mean,
Everyone needs to understand that.
Mom paid early April, so we're in the process of that 30 days under protest.
The way that the agreement works, the $513,000 covers every single landowner that was affected, regardless if they paid under protest. So the commission's throwing the people that didn't pay under protest a bone there. Because legally, their time ran, they can't do anything about it. So I think a lot of those folks are lucky.
And I'm in a learning process here, so young and learning.
I really think that people affected in the southeast, they can keep looking back if they want and file lawsuits, that's their decision. But I think payable 19, they should be tickled pink of the action of this commission and or the state factor number, because depending on the budgets and the mill levy, I would predict that the average acre of land in that affected area will go down $5 an acre in taxes. I mean, due to some fluctuation on mill levies, because the state mill levy is already set for school and special ed. So the main other one is the county commission mill levy. In Columbia Township, their current mill levy for ag land is 7.667 in Columbia Township. In Garland Township, which I have told you, I'm in Aberdeen School District, my ag mill levy is 11.493. So just my mill levy difference between Columbia and I predict their savings will be in that $5 range. Mine, with the first action that was done, would have went up about $2.25 an acre. The new thing you did looks like, depending on my mill levy and budgets, will go up next year. The people that are affected, and that's why I said 97, is the north and northwest. You're gonna put off their sticker shock for payable 19, but payable 20 will be their sticker shock. When they lose their .87 and have the same state factor number, approximately, that'll be their sticker shock year, big time. And they won't know about it till it's too late. That's my concern.
Well, I guess, we've kind of beat this to death, and I don't know if there's, honestly, if we have our original offer, it sounds like that's what the board wants to do. I don't think there's any more for us to discuss at this point in time, I guess.
I'd move we have an executive session with our attorney.
Should we take a 2-minute break first?
Okay. We have a motion from Fishback, second from Sutton to go into an exec. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are in exec with a 2-minute break. Action as a result of exec.
I forgot my paper.
Okay. Max, can we go
Are we going over there?
Pretty quick.
Huh?
Are we going over that building?
We gotta do these bullet points.
2 and 2.
Okay, primary canvas, June 7, 4 p.m. The 3 of you make it?
What is it, June 7th?
June
Yeah.
7th?
That's the
I can make it.
Thursday.
Probably.
I can make it.
I can make it.
All right, I mean, as many as want to, but we have to have the 3.
June 7th at what time?
What is this?
4 o'clock.
PM.
Well, that's-
Yep, I'm okay.
4?
I may not be able to, I'll put it down just in case.
Okay.
Okay.
I was talking about you.
At 4, you said.
Yeah. Okay, you want me to start here?
Sure.
Oh, I cannot be there either. So boys are gonna have to do that.
I'm gonna try.
Tom and Doug and I did.
I can, if I'm able to, I'll do the year.
Okay, all right. Minutes from May 15 general and May 18 special.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Kempley to approve the general minutes and special meetings. One for May 15th for general and May 18th for special. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Claims. Move.
Second.
Moved by Hanson, second by Sutton to approve claims. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The HR report, I just have one question. I don't know if you saw my note. All work-related travel must have the prior approval of the department head. All county work-related travel out of state must have prior approval of the county commission. I just want to let you know that the auditor's office will still need to receive the forms to audit the travel reimbursement vouchers.
That's not a problem.
Okay.
So
So
it's
they,
a form.
That should almost be without saying.
Yeah.
so, but do I list them on the travel list anymore?
I don't see why.
I think the issue came up is like when one of our attorneys has to run over to like Webster to do a case that morning, he leaves and goes over. Sometimes they get called in, they don't know in advance what day the trial's gonna be, so that's why this popped up, I believe, is the reason.
Right.
This came up is sometimes they get called to another county and it's not a preset thing, so that's why it kinda came up.
Yeah.
And we'll
That
still
doesn't
need
mean they would still have to do their vouchers,
But
their travel.
they're travel vouchers, but we use the travel list to verify they've got approval to go.
Yeah, I know.
And we'll still be getting that, right? Or only for out of state?
Just for out of state.
The department head will be aware of it.
But it does say that their department head should approve that.
Right.
Because they have to voucher it, so. and
So
they
do
have to
I need
approve
to
the
call the
voucher.
department head and ask them because,
They'll have to notify you that someone from the department was at travel and give you the report, I would think.
Well, the way it was explained to me from Dave was that you're already approving the voucher, so if the department head signs the voucher, you're good to go.
he's good with that then?
Yeah, I already
Okay.
talked to him about it.
Okay, I didn't know
So-
that.
But I still kinda like to get the list
Me
of where
too.
people are going. That's not gonna stop.
In state?
That's gonna
Yeah,
stop.
like
Yeah.
trainings and all that.
Trainings and all that?
Exactly, I want to see
I
it.
see, I wanna see that too.
Well, that's not what you said last, when we had.
I didn't
That's why
realize
they
we
changed
weren't.
the
But that was the whole point, was, yeah, that
because they didn't know till last minute. I mean, we can certainly
We got somebody going to
do
Deadwood, I think we
that,
should have a right to know.
I mean, you
but-
don't necessarily look at the dates on that travel.
No, I just like to know what they're getting up on.
So do you want a monthly list of where everybody went for the previous month?
Well, I think to fix, because you said
It's
the issue
easier
was,
weekly.
they know a lot, like we just got a note the other day again, somebody didn't turn
Get it
in
in
their
time.
prior approval, and so.
We approved
So,
one today for May
yeah.
15th.
That's exactly it, that's the issue we were having, and so,
Well, if we don't have to prove it.
But they've
ahead
got
of time, we can
prior
still see
approval
it.
from their department head, just for the fact that the department head is letting them go.
Right.
All they're doing is commission is more informative
To get it paid,
to get it paid.
that's what the prior one was, but so.
that was
But
my
yeah,
fault, I
you can-
misunderstood
you
last
can
week. I figured
certainly-
we'd still get the cover sheet with the little pages showing what we,
Well, then we
But
wouldn't
it-
change it, I don't know why we changed it then, I guess.
because you're just adding out of state is all that comes to
Yeah.
commission.
I mean,
Adding
you
that
can
sentence.
certainly still, we can still have department heads give you a list of where they went after the fact, I
No,
guess.
that's fine.
That'd be okay too, just so we know.
I can do that, we can do that. Sounds good.
So if they get that to you by whatever date,
Yeah.
then you can include it in the HR report.
Yeah.
Travel,
Perfect.
these were the
That's what we'll do.
people who traveled.
That works out, even though you don't have to give prior approval now, we'd still like to see a list to add to the HR report just for informational
Yeah,
purposes.
it's like what they're going there for.
Employees need
Why not just
permission
do
from
it
their
in the
department.
same sheet, rather than having to retype it all
Well, this-
on the HR report?
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me how.
Whatever we do.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so HR report with the amendment to F1? Huh?
Let me look at how it's. All county work
So
related
why
travel must
can't the
have prior
department heads,
approval
Gary,
from
just
all
give us,
county
say they're
work
updating, like, they're going for education or
Sure.
whatever? That'd be kinda nice to know.
For information only, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not that we're approving
That
it.
way there's not
Department
been
head's
any
approving it.
battle over who gets
The
paid.
department
I
head
think we can
submits
still
the
leave it
motion.
like that, right?
Should be the same.
They're talking about the rate.
Yeah. Because we'll still have to approve out of state. And we'll just get a heads up on in-state.
Yep,
So
that
if
works.
they send their voucher in before it hits the HR report, then we're still okay. Okay.
Huh? Some of them are gonna be leaving after, they're not gonna, it's right, we won't know till afterwards.
All right, so
I think that's the whole reason, if you leave it as it is,
As is? Okay.
as it's corrected.
Okay. All right, HR report, as stands.
Second.
Moved by Kepley, second by Fishback.
By everybody.
All in favor, everybody.
Aye.
We're aye.
I think we all
Opposed, motion carries.
Fair contract.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Fishback, second by Sutton to approve fair contracts, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Lottery applications, the Boys and Girls Club was in the packet, and we've got the American Legion for this coming Sunday at the horse races.
Move it.
So we'll do both of them.
Moved by Hanson, second by Kepley to approve the lottery applications, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Amend the Wellmark Blue Cross Blue Shield Flex admin fee from $475 to $525, and, yeah, that was all on the Wellmark, correct, Gary?
Yes.
That's per year, per month, per pay period?
Per person, per
person.
month.
Per month, yeah.
525 per
$525,
person per month.
It was 475.
right.
Yep.
475.
475 to 525 is what it's for.
Move. Is that where we're at? Yeah.
Moved by Sutton, second by Kepley to approve the administration fee for Wellmark. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Flats, there's just two of them, Jark and Rick. I had too many listed.
Moved by Fishback,
Second.
Second by Sutton to approve the plats. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
When we did the township bonds, there were 3 of them missing. We've gotten 2 more, Aberdeen Township and Mercier.
We got one out, huh?
Yeah, Groton is still out.
Second.
Who moved that in here?
Nancy.
Manson, second by Kepley to approve the 2 township bonds that were received. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
There was a resolution in the packet in regard to a relief lien where the person, the state is insolvent.
We're gonna get 150, right?
150.
I'll make a motion to approve that offer.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Sutton, second by Kepley to approve the offer on the lien due to insolvent estate. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
That will be roll call. Are they all ayes? Yeah, okay. I've got a note for Gary, but I'll ask you that later. I wrote it down here so I wouldn't forget. That's all I have.
Gary, you have anything?
One quick question, court security, are we wanting or needing to set a separate budget for that? Obviously, they were assuming that there may be some need for some machines and things, and so whether you wanted to separate that out as a separate budget.
Let's put it on a record.
I
like that.
I like that idea.
Why not?
What code would it be with legislative audits?
Well, that's, I don't know.
Maybe we can do
That
some
was the
thinking on
que-
that
That was
this
the
week.
question, was,
Okay,
yeah.
do some thinking on it, and you
Think
can talk?
about it and.
Check with
That's it.
legislative audit.
Yeah.
Since this was the
I like it
time,
under court.
that's what they were asking, yeah. I
That's the
can
only
talk to
reason
them.
we have it.
Yeah.
That was brought up.
Unless we just get
Because they
shocked.
said obviously there will be some costs involved with made possible. Like one of the machines is rented, they may have to replace that or something at some point.
Interesting to track the employees and stuff too.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think you can do that
And
on the
there-
I know
court
it's all
budget.
I'll check with Dave, I'll
Yeah.
let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Sounds
think
good.
it's
Suggested.
that was more of a
Yeah,
sarcastic.
Another one of those.
But it doesn't hurt to...
sounds good.
That's all you had?
Yep.
Good.
Have we got everything worked out? I know there's been some discussion, so that we're able to track the amount of money that emergency management has gotten, so that those monies are accounted for and go back to emergency management?
Yeah, we'll restrict them.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll be restricted on
Okay.
the financial report. There's, at the December 31st, 17, there was 11,500, and now there's an even 12,000.
Okay. I just want to make sure we were able to make sure that money
Right.
got
And
back to
then-
where it was
Because
intended.
at the end of the year, I always ask the department heads if they spent any of it in the
Okay.
building.
All right.
Okay. Anything else to come before the Brown County Commission this morning?
Move to adjourn.
Moved by Sutton,
Oh, second,
second by Hanson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you.